when the economy turns, it doesn't really scare me because I think that's actually when like our biggest opportunities arise. And most of us are figuring this all out as we go. I didn't have some big master plan. It wasn't like I decided to write a book because I was this amazing writer and I already had the skills and I knew I could do it. I said yes to writing this book because I didn't think I could. I know myself well enough to know that I can give 70% and I can produce results that look really good on the outside. And that might impress people for a while. At some point, I've got to look me in the mirror and I have to lay my head on the pillow at night and know that I actually am not living up to my full potential.
Let's get to community building.
When you go a layer deeper and you start to ask, okay, how do I actually cultivate this into a community? You start to ask a better question, which is, how do I now help those people connect with each other?
This is the Mr. Brrrr Show.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. Today, my guest is an author, an investor, and founder of Powerhouse Women, where she actually mentors women from all ages, even girls. So she'll mentor high-level entrepreneurs to high school students, which probably should start mentoring my high school student because she is a little knucklehead right now. Just kidding. I love you, Haley. But here's the crazy thing. My guest has actually tapped into something that is paramount when it comes to building a business and doing extremely well, and that is building a community. A tribe, people behind you that are going to support you every step of the way and help you do better. So this is going to be a masterclass on how you can do the same thing. Now, the only thing I ask is when you get value, because I know you're going to, share this episode with as many people as you can so we can all grow together. So it is my pleasure to introduce to you Lindsey Schwartz.
Hey.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. You are like sunshine in a body.
Welcome.
Look at this, the smile. I love it.
You know, I have actually, someone came up to me after I was on a panel one time and they said, total stranger to me. She goes, I don't want you to take this the wrong way, but you have like the opposite of resting bitch face. It's like resting, she goes, it's like resting joy face. And I was like, I went home and I, like an entrepreneur would, bought restingjoyface.com.
So you actually have that now?
I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but.
That is awesome. So what is it? Resting bitch face is always
kind of like when you just look sour.
Yeah,
You're probably just thinking.
It's
but
RBF, right?
Yeah.
Resting
that's
bitch face.
Yep.
So you have RJF.
Yeah. Apparently. Unless I'm
freaking love
hungry or something like that, then I do go to RBF real quick. It's just a fine line. Yeah.
Then you get a little hangry.
Yeah.
Okay. I love it. So let's get into kind of just your story. Tell people kind of how you got to where you're at today at the young age of 29 we talked about, right?
Yeah. Wink, wink.
Wink, wink.
Plus 10.
You're on your 10-year anniversary of 29.
Of my 29th birthday.
Yes.
I'm actually, and I'm stoked to be turning 40 this year. I have nothing about that age. And it's actually cool to look back over my entrepreneurial journey because what people know me for now, and I think what has really grown my profile, both online and off, is something that I didn't even think of until I was 33. And I think when I was in my 20s, I kept feeling like, oh, I'm running out of time. Am I ever gonna like make it? And I didn't even start the thing that I'm growing now, which is now just really starting to get some serious traction, until I was 33, almost 34.
Yeah.
And I'll be in my 40s even before I kind of like make my first million and do all these big things that I think when you're starting out in your journey, you just think that you should be getting there faster. So
Yeah.
all of that to say, I actually started, I was thinking on my drive over here, I started in construction in the real estate industry. My first corporate job was I sold commercial carpet.
Okay.
So that's what brought me out to Arizona. And it was in that time that I realized that I just got that fire, like wanting to do something of my own. Combine that with the fact that it was like 2007, 2008, the economy was starting to shift, commercial construction was going under, and it was literally the first time I ever thought to myself, wow, I should really look into starting something of my own, starting a little business on the side in case I ever need a plan B. And I'm so grateful for that. That's why when the economy turns, it doesn't really scare me, because I think that's actually when like our biggest opportunities arise.
100%.
And that pushed me into entrepreneurship. So that journey led me down this path of, I just ended up building a lot of relationships with other entrepreneurs or women who wanted to be. And although in that season I worked with men and women, I was doing like health coaching, I had so many women in my life come to me and say some version of, Lindsey, I love to see what you've done, and it's so inspiring, and gosh, I wish I could fill in the blank.
Yeah.
I have this idea that I'd love to pursue. And then in the next breath, they would share why they didn't feel like they were ready, or they didn't know enough, or like that imposter syndrome feeling that we all feel.
Yes.
But they were using that to discount themselves. They were using that to say, well, but here, let me explain to you why I can't do this. And every time I'd kind of sit back and go like, well, wait a minute. What you're describing is something any successful person, I promise you this, anyone you look up to online, they all feel that. And it made me realize, like, man, we're not talking about that enough, especially as women. And I think in that stage, it was very much the age of like the very perfectly curated Instagram. We're all putting our best foot forward, which is great because that's your brand, but we were missing the opportunity to impact people who wanted to follow in our footsteps and just didn't see the other side of the story, which is that we do all struggle. And we were just talking before we hit record, like we still experience imposter syndrome. So that idea is kind of what initially inspired me to write the book and start having these conversations, and it accidentally really evolved into what it is today, where we have this global community of women who are ambitious and who want more and who want to go in the direction of whatever they're pursuing together, not alone. Not trying to figure it out by themselves. Yeah.
I love it. So what's the name of the book?
The book was called Powerhouse Woman, just one.
Okay.
And then that when I sat down to say like, gosh, I'm going to do a little book launch event. That was my first event, because now I host a huge annual sold out event, hundreds of people. I just was going to do a little book launch event to celebrate the book that came out in 2017. And I remember sitting in this event planner's office that I found on Facebook.
Okay.
Just found her on Facebook randomly. She was also my spin instructor, and, sat with her, and she's like, well, what do you want to call it? And I was like, well, I guess we'll call it Powerhouse Women.
Plural,
okay. Like more
we
than
got
one.
This.
So I just want to highlight, like, again, most of us are figuring this all out as we go. I didn't have some big master plan, but now it's turned into something really, really cool and super fulfilling.
The cool thing is it's unfolding in front of you.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you don't have it all figured out. No one ever does. And if they do, they're lying. Period.
Yeah.
Right? So you said at 33, that's when you kind of finally started getting some traction on something worthwhile in your life, right?
Yeah.
Up until then, you're like, what am I doing? Beating your head against the wall kind of thing, right? It's so funny because I can draw a lot of parallels between my life and your life. I was 34. So 34, had like 50 jobs, worst employee ever, right? Like, tell me what to do. I'm like, screw you. I'm doing it my way, right?
Yeah.
Great at jobs, but just horrible employee. And finally at 34, I'm like, this sucks. I need to do my own thing. So started doing real estate. And then it just unfolds in front of you. I think as long as you're always moving forward, as long as you're always in action, good things will happen, right? It's the people that sit back, they sit on the couch, they watch Netflix, they scroll on their phone all day, and they wonder why they're broke or sick or out of shape, right?
So good, yeah.
So you're just constantly moving towards this goal that you have of empowering more women, and it's unfolding in front of you, and you're just seeing more and more success, right?
Yep.
One thing I also want to touch on, this is something I really got from what you said, is it was at 33, right?
Yeah.
33 years. A lot of people think like, that's a long time, right? However, I'm a firm believer that with technology, with you look like you take great care of yourself. I would not say you're almost 40. I would literally say you look 29. Okay. So you obviously take care of yourself. Eat right.
Yep.
Work out. Right. Good level of income. And with technology, AI, it's not out of the question to think you could live to be 150.
Yeah.
So at 33, you still have 120 years.
That's so true. I was saying this with my husband because my husband is about a year older than me. He turned 40 last year. And I said, it's funny to think even back to my parents' age when they were turning 40. And that was very much the time when the way you celebrated is your friends threw you this party. They bought you like a walker as a gag gift and like decorated it with
diapers.
Decorated it with like tombstones, which is so backward thinking because yes, maybe if you're looking at the lifespan that someone lives. We may only have, if we're lucky, have 80 years. But I think our actual purposeful life starts, I mean, for me, it was around like 27, 28. When I had gone through school, I graduated from college, I really started to gain experience. I started to actually pursue, like, well, what am I passionate about? So if I look at it from that standpoint, I've really only been at my craft for 13 years, maybe, and really working in the business that, like I said, started to take off for me for 7. So my entrepreneur life, I am still very young, and I'm excited for what's going to come in this next decade and the one after that and the one after that. So I do think there's this weird thing that happens as you age, is you look at time a lot differently, and you can choose to either look at it like it's flying by or look at it as, okay, every decade I'm getting better, which means I'm going to be able to accomplish more in the next decade. All the lessons from my 20s and 30s have made me dangerous in my 40s. And I can't wait to see what my husband and I create together, what I create within my company. And you just start, I don't know if you are experiencing this too, as you get closer to there. For me specifically, it's like I just don't care as much about what other people think about me, which is 100%. Freeing in itself.
100%.
Yeah, it's wild.
I remember being in my 20s. I can't remember exactly what year it was, but I remember thinking of like 40-year-olds. I'm like, they're old.
Yeah.
They're just old.
Any of you
right?
little 20-year-old shits that are listening to this, just you wait.
Yeah, right? And then I talked to my daughter, so she's 16.
Yeah.
And I'm like, baby, I'm telling you, just enjoy every second because you're going to blink and you're going to be my age and you're going to have a kid. Because I remember like it was yesterday being 16 years old. Yeah. Like who my best friends were, what kind of clothes I wore, Tommy Hilfiger, Nautica, like what kind of shoes I liked. I remember everything. Yeah. And now I'm almost 40. And it's like up here, I still feel like the same 16-year-old kid. Just sometimes when I look in the mirror, I'm like, you don't look like you're 16 anymore, right? But the craziest thing is like, the older you get, you start viewing time different, because I've been thinking about this a lot. I start thinking more about my death. I start thinking like I'm going to die one day. That's inevitable. I don't know when, but the more you start thinking about that expiration date, you start appreciating every day you have. So good. Every second you have, right? Like I appreciate this conversation with you right now because I know one day it won't be possible. That day could be tomorrow. Knock on wood, God willing, right? So I appreciate you. I appreciate you for coming. So that's the podcast. I'm just kidding, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
It'd be the shortest podcast ever. They're like, what did they even talk about?
Leave a review.
One thing I want to talk about with you is I'm a firm believer of never quitting, just moving forward. I kind of touched on it. It's just like keep moving forward. Don't quit. There's a great book, 3 Feet from Gold. It's one of the first books I read that was like a self-help book. Yeah. And you've got this saying, the cute quit. What does that mean?
Oh, well, let me tell you how the cute quit shows up in my life, because it does every single time, especially I'm like going to a new level. And it really revealed itself when I was writing my first book. And you were asking before we started a little bit about the writing process. And for me, going into the writing process, it wasn't like I decided to write a book because I was this amazing writer and I already had the skills and I knew I could do it. I said yes to writing this book because I didn't think I could. And I was at this point in my life, I don't know if you've ever had one of these moments where you're just really restless, and what's happening is you're getting clear that you haven't grown in a while. And that was happening. This was around the time that I finally decided to write this book. And I just remember when I saw this opportunity, it was a friend sharing something on Facebook, one of those posts you could easily just scroll by. And there was something about it that was like, you should do that. And I remember...
Keep that thought.
Yeah.
When this happened, when you got that restless feeling, were you starting to see success?
No.
Okay.
Here's what was happening. My first business was in network marketing. Love network marketing, but here's how I would describe it. I could show up at 70% of my full potential, and I could get results that looked like other people's 100.
Okay.
That's kind of a slippery slope because I knew I wasn't growing.
Got it.
I knew that I wasn't actually using all of the potential within me, but I got recognized. I got awards. I got to speak on stages. I got all the things that I thought I wanted as far as external results. I was making great money. But I, inside, couldn't figure out why I was restless. And it was because I was never doing things that put me out of my comfort zone. I wasn't doing anything outside of what I knew I could control, and nothing at all that made me really question myself. And it wasn't until that moment where I said yes to writing this book, and I didn't know why I was writing it, and I start writing. And I will never forget, so I was part of this program. I'm a big believer in mentorship, so I signed up for basically like a mentorship program, a mastermind for people who wanted to be authors. And we just hop on these Zoom calls every single week. And I remember the first time, because there were 3 specific times where I showed up on the call ready to quit. But here's what I was really going to do. In my mind, I didn't say, I'm getting uncomfortable. That imposter syndrome starting to kick in. I'm starting to realize that if you publish a book, people will read it, and they might have opinions about it. Those thoughts started to creep in. And instead of saying, I'm uncomfortable, I'm pushing right up against the edge of what I know I'm capable of. And this is really where growth happens. What I said was, this is probably just kind of a distraction right now. I have so much on my plate. My bandwidth is, even we use like these cute phrases to describe like why we just want to quit because we're getting uncomfortable.
Just excuses.
Just all excuses, but we rationalize them. We make them sound logical. I had bought into my own bullshit so much because I made it sound palatable. Because here's the thing, I even trained everyone else in my life to know how busy I was. So if I said, oh yeah, that book I was going to write, I'm just not doing that anymore. And they would be like, oh, I know you're so busy. And I'd be like, I know I'm so busy. It's like we do this and don't even realize that we're fighting for our own limitations instead of for our possibilities.
Yes.
So the cute quit, I will never forget. I show up on this call, and not only did I have to, connect with these other authors, we had to read out loud 1,000 words that we had written. Now, what I didn't tell you is pre-deciding to write a book, I had a blog. No one's ever heard of it because I never put it out there. I was so afraid of what people were going to think, afraid of judgment. So I had this failed blog, a lot of evidence for why I wasn't a writer.
And how old were you? That blog?
In my 20s, mid-20s.
Yes, at that point, you care what everybody thinks.
What everybody thinks. And it would have been so easy to quit in that moment. And I would have convinced myself that it was actually the right thing to do. Yeah. I would have convinced myself that it wasn't quitting. It was me honoring my bandwidth or my schedule. Now, here's the thing.
Not burning out.
You got to know where your actual limits are. But I think self-awareness as entrepreneurs is the most valuable thing you can develop, because for me, that would have been a cute quit. Yeah. Had I quit in that moment. Another example, I will start a new workout program. I'll buy a program from someone who has the physique that I want. I'll go to the gym, workout 1, workout 2, workout 3. It usually happens within like the first week when it's really effing uncomfortable. And I'll go into the workout and I'll be like, okay, the second set is this, third set, burpees. Yeah, what if I just skip those? I'm going to sub in some air squats or something that isn't as uncomfortable for me. So here's what we're doing in that moment. That's a cute quit, because we're taking someone who has the plan for us to achieve the thing we want to achieve. And then the moment we get to the part where we're like, nah, I don't really want to do that, AKA, that's uncomfortable, AKA, I don't really like that. Instead, we start to edit the plan that someone else already has the results that we want and says, hey, this will get you there. And then we wonder why we don't get the results.
They give you the blueprint.
Give it to you.
Step
you
1, step 2, you pay for it. Yeah. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, goal accomplished.
And then I'm like, let me do it my way.
Yeah, let me do it my way. I'm not in as good of shape, but I think I know better. I do that all the time too.
Right.
So.
And that, quite literally, that is the thing right now for both of us, even though at the level of success we've achieved, if we look at why we aren't getting a result in an area we want it, I bet there's a cute quit somewhere disguised as a very rational reason why we're not extending ourselves to the level that we really need to in order to have that thing we want.
I love it. A cute quit. I've never heard someone put it like that, but it makes so much sense because it's like you're quitting, but quitting sounds like you're just, that doesn't sound good.
I'm not a quitter.
Yeah, I'm not. That's not me.
Rude, no.
Right? But if you make it cute, I'm going to edit this, I'm going to do this different, I'm going to do that, you're quitting on the actual roadmap to get you to what you need to get to.
Well, what you're quitting on is you're quitting on the person you say you want to become.
Yeah.
Because you're just going to be, what, a 70% version of that?
I forget who said this. It might have been me. I don't know. I think I said this on a podcast, maybe 4 or 5 podcasts ago. But it's like the temperature in this room is set by a thermostat, right?
Yeah.
Let's say it's at 74. Whatever's going on outside of this room, the thermostat will regulate, the air conditioner will regulate it to 74 in here, right? Mm-hmm. If it gets too cold out there, same thing. The heat will bump on and keep it at 74.
Yep.
So I think we have these like built-in thermostats in ourselves. Like we think we're in 80 degrees or we think we're at 74. And if something happens and we start getting the success, we sabotage ourselves to get back to what we think our natural thermostat is.
Yep.
That's kind of what I call like the cute quit.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
You self-sabotage yourself to get back to what you think your baseline is because that's where you're comfortable.
And what's so tricky about it is I assume people who listen to your show are like you. They're successful. They're probably the person in their life that no one else would challenge. Everyone else would be like, that's not a cute quit, but you got to know for yourself if it is.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's like I can tend to let what other people think is my maximum level of success talk me into playing smaller than I'm actually here to play. And that's where my cute quit tends to show up, is when it's that combination of I'm getting uncomfortable because I'm working towards something new. And also I know that, like I said, I know myself well enough to know that I can give 70% and I can produce results that look really good on the outside. And that might impress people for a while, but
Doesn't impress you though.
At some point I've got to look me in the mirror and I have to lay my head on the pillow at night and know that I actually am not living up to my full potential.
So true. It is so true. 1,000,000% correct. Because guys, you have to understand, rewind what she said, listen to it again and again and again and again, because it is so profound. If you think about it, and why I interrupted you the first time was like, when you had that thought, was it because you were starting to see success? Because I've had times in my life where like, I'll start really getting success. So I kind of take my foot off the pedal.
Yeah.
And I'm doing well. Like I'm making great money. Like family life is awesome, but I just feel like this unease. I'm like, something's not right. Like I don't feel joy, right? The most joyful times in our lives are when we're growing, when we're expanding. Like think about a caterpillar. You're gonna like where this is going.
I love it already.
Think about a caterpillar. A caterpillar struggles its entire life to get out of its cocoon. It's struggling. When it gets out, what does it become? A beautiful butterfly.
Yep.
Right? So like, if we constantly push our comfort zones, we're going to struggle. There's no way we're not going to struggle if we're constantly doing things that we're not comfortable doing.
Yeah.
But that's when you grow. That's when you become that butterfly, right?
Yep.
So I love it. 100% on point.
Good.
I love cute quits. Or I hate cute quits, but I love how you put it.
And being aware of it is step one.
Yes.
Right? Like starting to watch for it in your life and realizing, unless you have a really high level of friends who are holding you to that standard, most people aren't going to call you on it because it's usually the stuff that you can justify and no one's going to fight you.
Yep. Like parents. Do you have to keep working so hard? Aren't you good the way you are?
Right.
We
Starting
like
another business?
We like you just the way you are.
Yeah.
You might.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
I'm gratefully unsatisfied. Grateful for where I'm at.
Yes.
But I'm unsatisfied with it, right? So let's touch more on that. But first, let's get to community building. Like so many people, I think, look at a community as followers, right?
Yeah.
I've amassed all these followers online. I looked and you've got what, 50,000 followers on Instagram, right? So 50,000 followers. And if you put on an event, how many people show up?
We just had 600 in Scottsdale in August.
Just in Scottsdale?
Yeah.
So did people fly in or was it just Arizona?
Yep. And actually our following my personal following and our brand page has actually doubled since the event. So we were about half that in August.
So about 25,000. The percentage of that is huge.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the difference, guys, between a following and a community. So a following, let's say you've got 50,000 people or 25,000 people that follow you, and you say something, you're going to have an event. You might have like 1%, maybe a 0.5% that show up, 20, 30, 40 people, right? A community, you've got 25,000 followers, 600 people out of that is a huge number,
and
right?
2,000 online. I didn't say that part. Yeah.
So there you go.
But
So how do you build first off, let's tell people the difference. What's the difference between a community and a following? And then how do you build it? How do you bridge the gap?
I'm so glad you asked.
Okay.
It's my favorite thing to talk about.
Perfect.
Well, here's the thing. I do think that people mistake their audience, aka their followers, with their community. Those terms can get used really interchangeably. I get it. But when you distinguish the difference between the two that I'll share in a second, that's actually where it does not matter what kind of business you have. If you're in real estate, if you're in products, if you're in service, any company, I've tested this in a lot of different scenarios. It is the differentiator between, especially your organic marketing. Because the other thing is we don't spend money on ads. So we have those results because of the community we've cultivated. The difference, when I'm building my audience, I'm really answering the question that I'm asking myself, how do I get more people to connect with me, to connect with my brand, to want to learn from me, to want to be a part of this thing that we're doing? How do I get more people to connect with me? That is step one. I want people to know how amazing all of us are. It's not that one is better than the other. It's just that's where most people stop, is they're just trying to build their following. But the differentiator, when you go a layer deeper and you start to ask, okay, how do I actually cultivate this into a community? You start to ask a better question, which is, how do I now help those people connect with each other? What happens, I want you to think about this at a psychology level, because I feel like you love to nerd out on this kind of stuff too.
Yes.
Just above food, shelter, and clothing on the hierarchy of human needs is a feeling of belonging. And I think we overlook the ability for our brands, whether that's online or off, to be a place where people can cultivate a feeling of belonging, where they can meet other people who think like them, act like them. I mean, you're an ambitious person. You hang out with ambitious people. If you were around, let's say you lived in a small town and there was no one else who was entrepreneurial, no one else who wanted to have these amazing conversations you have in your podcast, you would start to feel kind of lonely.
Right.
The moment you plug into community, when you realize you're surrounded by other people who want to have the conversations you want to have, who are passionate about what you're passionate about, it creates a depth of brand loyalty that actually can't be bought, can't be manufactured. It can only be done like the good old-fashioned, authentic, slow way, which is investing in the human connection piece of things. And I think it's obvious for a brand like mine. Like, I host events, I have online programs and courses and things like that. Of course, a community makes sense for my brand. But if you think about this from a product company standpoint, I don't know if anyone listening has a CPG product or something like that. When I see people carrying the handbag that I love, or when I see people who use products that I love, I immediately know something about them or assume something about them based solely on the fact that they have that product in their life or that they shop at this specific store. So we're all building a community unintentionally and missing, literally leaving so much money on the table. Most business owners I know are leaving so much money on the table because they're not thinking through the lens of how do I build community into my growth strategy so that that organic marketing piece really starts to take on a life of its own.
I freaking love it. Love it. Because everything I've built on my company is all organic.
Yep.
I haven't spent any money on marketing except for recently.
Eventually you get to that point, and that actually makes sense to put more gasoline on the fire.
Yeah, because for me, it was like, I've made all this money. I've done so well without spending a penny. Why would I spend any money?
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense. And then it's like, well, dummy, if you spend $1 and it yields $5, why wouldn't you spend $1? Right? So start spending $1. So I finally got to that point where I'm actually spending, but I never thought of it from a standpoint of, don't just spend money on, let's say, boosting a reel on Instagram, right? Because that just gets more people in my audience, right? It doesn't bring people into a community where I'm making connections.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
Because you are 100% correct. Like, human beings, we want to be part of a community. We want to belong.
Yep.
Right? That's why I think as kids, high school kids, we tend to try to be someone that we're not to fit in, right? Like, I was like that for sure. You can kind of see what my energy is. I'm fun loving. Like, I wear my heart on my sleeve. Like, it takes a lot to get me mad. As a high school kid, I was like trying to be a punk thug and like, you know what I mean? Like,
I heard you talk about that on a podcast once.
Yeah, like I was getting shot at because I was being like a thug.
Who am I?
I am not a thug, right? Like, I'm surprised I didn't get like thug life tattooed on me somewhere. Like,
thank God.
Seriously, but like I think you try to be someone else to fit in because you want to fit in so bad. You want to be part of a community so badly. That's ingrained in us as humans, right? So you're just intertwining that with your business to basically make your business just crank.
Well, what happened was when I started, I had a really small audience, and I swear that this is true. I never for one moment saw that as a disadvantage. And I think so many people, especially online, think, okay, I have too small of an audience. I can't make the money that I want. You're just thinking about it the wrong way. Yeah. I just really prioritize how can I pour into and start connecting these people. Because let's say when I was hosting my first event, my vision was so small. I was thinking like, well, gosh, maybe 20 people would come. And then I was like, ooh, maybe 50. That was my goal. And I didn't even know 50 people. I couldn't even sit and write a list of 50 people that I knew for sure would come to this event I wanted to host. But there was a moment where it switched in my brain, and I thought, well, wait a minute. I don't need to know 50. I just have to write a list of 10 that would all be willing to invite 5 friends. And now that's really how our event has grown. Because women, I was just on a call yesterday when someone was like, okay, when's the 2024 date? I've got 5 friends from Ohio that I'm bringing. Okay. Like, just let me know the moment you go sell tickets. So I'm not paying them to promote my brand. I'm not paying them to sell tickets to my event. They're coming because they want to have this experience and they want to invite other people into it because they feel not just that they belong, but they actually feel a sense of ownership over it.
And they already know the value.
Yeah.
So they're selling their friends. You're not having to.
Yeah.
So when I was doing a little reading on you and I looked you up, I Googled you. I was looking through some stuff on Instagram. Yeah, you see 50,000 followers. And a lot of times you wouldn't see that much views or comments. Like, you've got a lot of engagement, a lot of likes, a lot of comments, and that comes from, again, engaged community, right?
Yeah.
So what are some main steps to like build that community? Once you have the audience, how do you start building the community and connecting people together?
Yeah. Okay, such a great question because there's so many ways that, again, we're just missing the opportunity and it's right in front of us. So you're talking about social media. Let's start there. So when you're attracting this attention to your profile, if you're really willing to take on this belief that if I can help these people start connecting with each other, they're actually going to value me more because now my page becomes a place not only that like I can go and learn all these creative ways to finance things in my business or my life, or if they're coming to my page, they're like, I'm going to get some inspiration or like a little mindset tip. They're also like, I will remember I'm not alone and I'll meet other people who are like me. So what we've started to do and what I teach people to do is teach your community. First, you have to teach your audience to connect. They right now don't look at your pages as somewhere that they can connect with others because we haven't been doing that. So if you start doing it and you start teaching them that your online space, wherever that is, your podcast, your social media accounts, it doesn't have to be a Facebook group. A lot of times people hear community and
that's
they think...
That's the first thing I think of.
Yes. And I always say community is not defined by the container, like where it lives. Community is defined by that sense of connection.
So good.
Connection happens at every single touch point. Easy way you can do it. Let's say maybe you just come out of the gate and you're like, hey, I had this great guest on the podcast, or I just heard this great podcast today talking about community, and I realized there's so many amazing people in my network that probably don't know each other. So let's play a little game. In the comments, I want you to drop a comment below just sharing something you're grateful for today. And then I want you to go and find and follow the person who commented right above you. Send them a message, say, hey, I found you from Devin's post. Like, tell me more about yourself. Now, not everyone's going to do that. Right. But if they do, it essentially creates this little pen pal chain where everyone will send one message, receive one message. And if nothing else, even if people don't play along or the chain kind of gets broken, what it does is it starts to teach your followers, the people in your network, that you are someone who wants to create connections online and offline. So that's an easy one. We do other like value-based ones. So I have a lot of entrepreneurs in my network. We'll create little threads that, again, just in the comments of a social media post that says, hey, we believe you're not meant to do business or life alone. So in the comments, just comment below with one thing you need right now. And then we'll even like say something about how being able to express what you need and ask for and receive help is what helps your business grow. So we really kind of tap into that psychology to get people to respond. We're like, oh yeah, that's right. I am kind of a lone wolf. I don't ask for help a lot. So let me engage with this. Put a comment below and then go through the other comments and just see, can you meet someone else's need? And little things like that, just more intentional ways to utilize the content you're already creating, adds so much value to you as a brand. And it starts to position you as the person who, number one, cares about your community, cares about connection, but isn't afraid to have your community connect with each other. The other thing, like let's say if someone listening is like a coach or a consultant, at some point, most coaches I talk to get burnt out because they feel like they have to provide all the value.
And then I'm getting it in return.
Where what am I doing? I'm actually adding more value to people in that moment, and it didn't really require more of me.
Yeah.
So there's just so much value in it. And these are little things that, will it explode your community tomorrow? No, it won't. But I was just talking with a group of entrepreneurs right before I came here. 7 years of it will.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Guys, that was so profound because anything worthwhile takes time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It really does. Like the Great Wall of China was not made in a day, right? Things take time. And if it's worth it, you're going to have to put in work, right? But if you put in the work and you follow the roadmap. So guys, if you literally just rewind, she just gave you step-by-step of a few ways to grow a community and then just do those things consistently. I talk about it all the time. Life in general, I talk a lot about money, right? How to make more money, how to grow money. And it's really just two things. Compound interest, which is time. You need time for compound interest to become big, and consistency. If you consistently put money into something that's growing compound interest, it's going to be a ton of money.
Yeah.
So same thing with that is like if you consistently take these steps, they're going to compound into something great. It just takes time.
Yep.
Time and consistency. So rewind that, listen to it again if you are on YouTube. And if you're listening on Spotify, same thing. Apple Podcasts, same thing. And if you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe, hit the bell. All right. So let's talk about 13 years of marriage, right?
To the same person. Just to be clear.
Yeah. I'm glad we cleared that up.
You're getting me mid-afternoon on a day I'm doing a lot of speaking, so I can't promise the jokes will be good, but
you're like, yeah.
Thanks for indulging me.
So it's been a new husband every year for 13 years. Clip that one.
That's your new intro, the teaser for this.
So good. Oh gosh. All right. So same man for 13 years. Let's talk about that because that's not easy. Again, guys, anything worth having is not easy. It takes time. It takes work. So let's talk about that. How do you stay married to someone for 13 years? Because I'm on 5. It's been a lot of work, but I'm not at 13. So how'd you do it?
I mean, I think both my husband and I are really blessed. We actually come from parents who are still married, over 40 years married. And I don't take that lightly because I actually think that part of it for us is we've always seen examples of people who stick it through even when things aren't perfect, even when things are challenging, because they are. Even just if I think about the person I am now versus 13 years ago, I mean, you're sort of, so as much as I'm married to the same man, I'm actually not married to the same person because we've evolved so much in that time. And I don't have the magic answer because I think every single relationship is different. But what I will say is he has always championed my ambition. It can sound intimidating to be married to this powerhouse woman, right? And he's never, ever tried to talk me out of my ambition. He's the one to actually say, hey, I think you can think bigger. Why don't you actually set your goal a little bit higher?
Yes.
But we're in this cool transition right now where a year ago I was telling you he left his job to pursue entrepreneurship. And so the roles in terms of, not support, but like our roles kind of reversed in that, now he's starting over and experiencing those early fears and, all the stuff that comes with like your first year of entrepreneurship. And he looked at me the other day and he said, the biggest gift you've given me, which is what made me realize he gave me this gift 10 years ago when I wanted to leave my job. He's like, you gave me permission to fail. Like, we made the decision to go all in on this project for me to leave my job, and you never made me feel like yes, you can do that, but you have to succeed. And I just think for our partnership, we are committed to constant growth, and that's not always going to end in a win. So it's figuring out like what are your values together. That's really served us, just making sure that we're always growing together in some way. Mm-hmm. But then we're in what actually could be one of the most challenging times for our partnership, because we're all in financially on a really big thing that's real estate. It's in the real estate world, and then the market turns, right? And I decided in my business I want to cut back on some of the things that I wasn't passionate about anymore. So I went to him this year and said, hey, I'm going to cut about $200,000 in revenue this year, and I just need you to trust me. And so to be able to have like the level of support, respect, trust in each other, where those decisions might not actually pan out, but we're not going to turn on each other when they don't, or if they don't, they're going to work out, right? I mean, I believe in that. But they might not turn out the way we thought they would. I believe we will make them a win no matter what. Yeah. But I think we're at a really cool place in our partnership now. They talk about like at 7 years, you kind of start, some couples kind of go through it. We're like almost double that now. And when I look at how much we've changed and evolved as people, the fact that we keep coming back and choosing to grow together is really cool.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Because if I'm not going to age you, you're 39, you're not 40 yet.
No, got a couple weeks.
Right. So you're 39 still. Even though you're in your 40th year of life.
Yeah.
You're still only 39,
yep.
right? So you're 39, he's
41.
So it's been a long day. What's my math? So we were
27 and 28 when we got married.
Okay, so
roughly.
Him at 28. So if you met him at 28 years old, that version of him, you probably wouldn't look twice, right?
Well, I did marry him at 28.
No,
Are you saying now?
I'm saying this version of you.
Yeah.
Right? If like somehow you could go back in time, you didn't know it was him, and you just saw this guy, you might think, oh, he's really cute. Right? He's really cute.
Yeah.
Right?
Totally.
But like you might not be attracted to him, because if you start talking to him, like how he talks, what he thinks about, his mindset, you might be like, because he's not where you're at now.
We're so
right?
Different. Mm-hmm.
You're so much different. And I think about that all the time. Me and my wife met when she was 23. I was 31. So I met her at 31. When I was 31, I found out she was 23, and I'm like, oh, this will be fun. Because me at 23, I was just a knucklehead. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, this will be fun, whatever. I meet her. She's such an old soul, right? Now she's 30, but looking at how she is now and who she is now, it's completely different from 23, right? So like growing together is so important. And if you guys got anything from that, just in a relationship, you both have to be growing. If one person's growing and the other one's not, it's not going to work, right? Because the person that's growing is always going to be looking back, trying to pull the other one with them, because they want to have that better half with them. Mm-hmm. And if that person's not willing to grow, it's not going to work. Yeah. Right? So I love it. 13 years is a blessing.
Yeah, I can't believe it, but also there's been so many milestones within that 13 years that it makes me excited for the next 13. It makes me excited for who we're going to be and who we're going to impact together as we keep going forward. But, that's not to say that it's been perfect. And like when you talk about growth, a lot of work that I had to do as the one, I've always kind of had this insatiable drive and ambition, and he has it, but it's different than mine. Mm-hmm. And early on, I used to really feel I could have told myself the story that we weren't growing together because his growth looked a lot different than mine. The ways he wanted to grow looked a lot different than mine. So I think it's easy to kind of like gloss over it and say like, yeah, we've always been growing together. It's not perfect. So I think I see that a lot where, especially in my community, if it's like a woman who's really ambitious and she could think that she doesn't have the support of her partner because the support might look different than how she expects it to look, how she wants it to look, and there could be some communication that's needed there. But there was this, I think we heard it in church, like in the beginning of our marriage, and I'll never forget this line, and it's just like this simple idea that like when you enter into a partnership together, one of our keys to success is we always assume the other person has our best interest at heart. So even if something he does or says triggered me in that moment because of a fear or an insecurity that I have, or I misunderstood it, or I took it the wrong way, or if he was being kind of an ass, right? Like sometimes I'm an ass, sometimes he is. And it's because we're dealing with our own emotions.
Right.
But if I go back to, do I know his true intentions, and are his true intentions to hurt me? No. I think it helps in that moment to reframe and to come back to a conversation, even to say like, hey, that hurt my feelings. I know that wasn't the intention, but let me share how that actually landed. Mm-hmm. And it's just like these little moments. But for me, and I want to be really careful to say that we haven't always grown at the same speed.
Yeah.
But if I would have given in to this thought that I was having in my head of like, which was really fear, I was just afraid he didn't want to grow with me.
Got it.
It wasn't that he wasn't growing, because he was never trying to stop me or slow me down or being like, oh, why are you going and doing that seminar? He's like, go, do it. I can't wait to hear about it when you get home. Just because he wasn't interested in going to another like weekend long. I'm like that crazy person who I just did like a 7-day meditation retreat, and he's like, see you later.
That actually sounds awesome.
Right?
Do that.
But if my expectation was, well, if we're not doing this together, we're not growing together, then I'm gonna see separation instead of seeing that I have someone who, number one, never has questioned me when I want to invest in my own growth, but also it's fine if his version of growth is he went to a men's retreat where they like shot guns out of helicopters and at targets on the ground.
Sounds
right?
legit.
And I want to go meditate for 7 days. So I think you also have to look at, well, what does growth look like for you and your partner, and what do you actually want to prioritize? For me, it's like as long as we are growing in some aspect of our relationship, it's been times where we're growing in our faith together, and maybe we're going to church together, times when we've worked out together and we're really growing in our fitness together. Or right now, it's like we're all in on this business. We can either turn against each other, or we can be all in and be like the best, most solid team ever.
Heck yeah.
And as long as I can look and I can see like, oh, this is where I'm feeding my need for growth together as a partnership. And as long as we have that somewhere, I'm good. And I need to focus on that versus focus on the ways that in the past, in my earlier years, I was insecure that like if I wanted to do all this personal development and go to these seminars and he didn't, did it mean that he didn't want to grow with me? Well, no, it didn't. It just meant that he was interested in different things.
Yeah, and it could be the growth, you touched on it, the growth could be, he could grow in a totally different way than you could. So like, let's say your growth is going to these events. His growth could be like allowing you to go to those events. That might be uncomfortable for him. You being there and him not being there. He doesn't want to go to them.
Yep.
But his growth could be like, all right, I'm going to let her go, even though it's uncomfortable. What if there's guys there, blah, 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 right? That could be him growing, right? So you really have to assess. So good. I love it. You have to assess like what is growth for the other person.
Yeah.
Right? So where do you see you guys in like the next 13 years? What's kind of like your vision?
Yeah.
Or do you have that? Do you look that far ahead?
Yeah, so it's not as time bound for me, because what I've realized about myself is I'm evolving on a personal level so often and so quickly that what I want now might not be what I want in 5 years.
Right.
But a couple things we're passionate about. We are passionate about real estate, specifically this vision of having homes in the places we want to spend time and where our family is based, and just to get to make more memories there. So Wisconsin, which is where my family is.
Tropical.
Go Pack Go. Elliot really wants like Hawaii or somewhere tropical, which I'm not mad about that at all.
Go Pack Go.
Yeah, that's
all of my listeners, all my followers, they hate the Packers.
Are they all Bears fans or something?
I don't know.
No, I don't know. I'm the worst fan ever because I couldn't even tell you anything about the team. But I did grow up like in the shadows of Lambeau Field, so my family lives there, and
that's a big Packers community.
Oh yeah.
Like,
well, there's not much else to do there.
Yeah, it's Packers
That's pretty
or
much
nothing.
it.
Packers,
drinking beer,
Packers,
and watching football.
Drinking alcohol, watching the Packers.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, and so, making more memories with family and things like that is really where our values are. And we have a vision to, to create success for ourselves so we can take care of people that we love and make memories with people. But at the end of the day, honestly, we've realized about ourselves that we don't need a lot to actually be fulfilled, to be happy. So what that does is then it puts your focus on a deeper why. And for us, taking care of our family, getting to like bless our family, our parents with like really abundant things that they're maybe not even envisioning for themselves is one of the things that really drives us. And I don't know where we'll be in 13 years, but I definitely couldn't see this version of our lives like when we were standing at the altar, getting married in 2010. So I can't imagine where we're going to be 13 years from now.
You guys are going to be crushing it.
Yeah.
I can just tell.
Just
I haven't met him, but...
Oh, you would just ask Austin. I always tell people love me until they meet Elliot. He's so much more fun and so much cooler than me. He's the best. He really is. He's like 6'4". He's like a bear.
I can't be around him then.
I know.
I'm like 5'6". I say I'm 5'7", but I'm 5'6 3/4".
Oh, no, that counts.
So I round up.
That you can round up.
I round up because I'm not going to
Absolutely.
say 5'6 3/4".
Absolutely.
I'm 5'7".
Yeah, no, he's a physically large man with the biggest heart of anyone you'll ever meet. Yes, he probably could fight if he needed to, if like survival was at stake, but on 2 occasions he neutralized a tense situation where someone was trying to get aggressive using only a bear hug. And that's my favorite thing about him.
Wow.
It's an intense bear hug, so
sure.
be careful.
I'm sure. But then after a while you just like start
You're
hugging
like, I
back.
can't breathe.
You're like, "Oh, this is nice."
Yeah, but and that I think that's part of it too, is even just at the level of like when he is with other people and has an opportunity to talk about me, when I'm with other people and I have the opportunity to talk about him, it's realizing that we're always creating who our partners are with words.
Yes.
So even if we're in a season where things are tough, or it doesn't mean that I don't have safe people that I can say, hey, I'm struggling with this. Can you help me work through this mindset block? Like I'm really hurt by this, or help me come back to this conversation with my partner in a way that's productive. But that's very different than saying like, the wife, the husband. It's like we won't even hang out with couples that talk like that about each other. 100%. And that's something that has actually been a really big part of our commitment to each other. It's not judging anyone else, but like that energy seeps into your partnership, just like it seeps into your business if you're around people who are negative or complaining. And so I do love anytime I get to talk about him, because it starts to create who he is in other people's listening. And that's the same gift that he gives back to me. And that's, honestly, it's just one of the simplest ways that we can invest in our relationships at any opportunity.
You know what else it does? It also creates who he is to you as well. Mm-hmm. Because I'm a firm believer that everyone has negative thoughts. Everyone has positive thoughts. But if you have a negative thought, is it your thought? Why would you choose to have a negative thought, right? It's just a thought. Mm-hmm. When you voice it, then it becomes real, right? So, like, there's things my wife does that really get on my nerves sometimes, but, like, I don't say anything about it until I'm in a place where I'm like, babe, let's talk about this, let's talk about that, and then she does the same thing. Yep. When we're both calm, right? By no means am I in the perfect relationship with my wife. I'm not a perfect husband. She's not a perfect wife. You're not a perfect wife. He's not a perfect husband, right? However, there's things you can do to make a relationship much, much better. One thing is not be around toxic relationships. You're a product of your environment, right? If you're around toxic relationships, you're probably going to have a toxic relationship.
Or not even that, it doesn't even have to wear off that much. But there was this one time we noticed we were with some friends that their relationship is actually more of this tense banter that just isn't our communication style. And then he was saying something to me, And there was like this extra edge to it. And I just came up to him, I put my hand on his heart and I go, okay, remember that we're not fighting, they were fighting. And he was like, oh yeah, no, thank you. I didn't even realize, like, I was just like agitated because I was feeling the energy.
Yeah.
And if we're not careful, we can like allow that energy to seep into how we relate to one another, even if it's just at the subtlest level. And that's something, I choose with the people I surround myself with in business. It's
so important.
The same thing in my marriage. And, I think it's like everything we've been talking about, the compound effect of surrounding ourselves with couples who treat each other the way we want to treat each other the way we want to treat our partner in our relationship. Doing things like, the inner work to make sure that we're not projecting that onto our partners. All of these things added up. That is ultimately what creates a successful, however you define success, relationship. But I'm sure there's so many new things I'm going to learn in this next decade of marriage that I don't know. I'm going to learn it about myself. I'm going to learn it about him. But it's the compound effect of the small things that is like the theme of all these conversations today.
You know what I think is the difference between like when you mature as a person, I'm just like reflecting on my life, I guess, is when I was younger, I thought I had it all figured out, right? I'm like, my parents tell me something, I'm like, yeah, you don't know anything, right? And then as I started getting older, I started realizing I don't know anything. I don't have anything figured out, right? And now I'm almost 39, and I'm starting to think like I don't have a lot of things figured out. There's a lot of things I am really, really bad at.
Yeah.
There's a few things I'm really, really good at.
Yeah.
So I lean into those things, but I don't have everything figured out, right? As you evolve, as you mature, as you get older, you start realizing I need to grow in this area. I need to grow in that area, right? And you and your husband, are you guys around each other a lot?
Yeah, we both work from home, and we actually always have. Before he went full-time entrepreneur, he was in outside sales, so he was working from a home office.
So you guys are around each other 24/7.
Yeah, not quite 24/7, but a lot. Yeah, we both work from home, and
this is incredible. I love it already because me and my wife work from home. I have a home office.
Yeah.
She has a home office. Mine's upstairs. She's downstairs. And we're around each other every single day. And do we get on each other's nerves every once in a while? Yes. Do we ever have blowout arguments? No. We've had maybe like one in 7 years. So I'm a firm believer that if you're around someone that much and it works, it's the right person.
You're either going to find out real quick it's the right relationship or the wrong one.
Right. So if you're around your husband that much and you guys are thriving and growing together, it's the right person, right? So I always think about that, like when me and my wife have like a little argument. I'm trying to think of like the most recent argument, and it's always just dumb stuff, right? It's always the dumbest things. I forget what it was. Oh, we get pre-made meals, right? We get them delivered to the house. Yep. So we're going to eat lunch together. I poked holes in mine to put it into the microwave. And then, like, I didn't poke holes in hers.
How dare you?
How dare I do that, right?
Yeah.
So mine goes into the microwave. I make it. And then I didn't poke holes in hers. And she got mad at me for not poking holes in hers. And I was like, I'll just poke holes in it. Like, it was like the weirdest little argument, but those are the little things. And it's like, if I can spend almost every single day an hour with this woman for 7 years, and these little teeny bickering things is all we deal with, I'll make those things work. I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because she's the right person. So it sounds like you found that. And that is a blessing because not everyone can say it.
Yeah.
You know? So you guys are going to crush it. I know it. You've got another book coming out?
I'm working on another book right now.
That's awesome.
Yep.
So the first one is Powerhouse Woman.
Just one. Yep.
Just a singular woman. And then the next one is Powerhouse Women. So
we'll see.
That's two or more.
Yes.
So how do you go about writing a book? I've been like struggling with the idea of doing it.
Yeah.
But I think I'm in that stage you were in where it's like the imposter syndrome of like, who would read my book?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I think that I think all of us have a book in us, really. And, you know, if you're writing it for yourself, for the personal transformation, if you're writing it to help even just one other person, I think that's like how I kept getting myself out of the way to just finish it. But, you know, it's an interesting process. It is it can feel very vulnerable. It can feel like it brings all of your inner work to the surface. And I am so grateful that I did. I mean, it literally changed my whole life, not because of what it inspired on a business sense, but it was the first time that I ever set a goal. I didn't know if I could do it. I didn't know if I could finish it, really. And I did it. I kept my promise to myself, and that alone changed my life.
Built confidence.
It really did. And so whether it's writing a book, whether it's, you know, I talk a lot with my community about, before I had a podcast, for 5 years, I had podcast equipment collecting dust in a closet for all the same, like, cute quit reasons, right? Oh, who's going to listen to me? What do I have to say?
You little cute quitter.
Just a little cute quitter. And had I not had that story with the podcast, I don't know that I actually would have ever written the book, because every time I wanted to quit, I'd show up to these calls, had to read what I wrote in front of this whole group. Inevitably, someone would be like, Lindsey, I need your book. Like, I need you to keep going. Like, I can't wait to read this book. That combined with thinking about the fact that I already knew how it felt to have this big idea and quit. I already knew, because I had the podcast, I had all these other ideas that I never started, I never followed through with. So, I mean, this is about writing a book, and it's not. It's kind of one of those things to say, for everyone listening, what is that thing that you've used as evidence for why you can't, or evidence why you're not good enough, or, you know, whatever it is where you're fighting more for the limitations around the story of why not you. And, you know, writing a book is cool. It's not for everybody. It's a lot of work, but it was one of the most transformational things that I've ever done. And to look at the platform it's given me, especially those of you that want to build a platform, that want to be seen as a thought leader in your space, it's honestly one of the most valuable tools that you can create for yourself. And nowadays, ChatGPT could probably write you a book in a weekend if you really wanted to.
I was thinking about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, because sometimes I'll use ChatGPT for, like, on the podcast. Yeah. I'll type out basically what the podcast is about, and then I'll copy and paste. I'll be like, ChatGPT, rewrite this. Yeah. And it rewrites it, and I'm like, that sounds nothing like me.
Oh, yeah, so I know. I haven't really used it a bunch.
I'm like, that's a dead giveaway. Mr. Brrrr did not write that.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
That is true. That is true. But, you know, it's...
Did you self-publish?
I did like a hybrid self-publish. So I wrote the whole thing myself. A lot of times I'll get asked that. So I did write every single word. And then this program I was a part of was a hybrid self-publishing, where I basically had someone to do all the heavy lifting, but I get to keep all of the rights to it. So yeah, if you want a recommendation, I have a bunch of great people who do similar stuff now.
Okay.
And I think the accountability piece of being in a structure, I had invested in it, I had a mentor, I was in kind of this group environment with other people who were also just as freaking uncomfortable as I was. It was those little things that helped me get over the hump of like, am I really going to do this?
Guys, community.
Yeah, it's true.
It's a community of people.
Yep.
It's all about the community.
Yeah.
So I love it. I've been thinking about it so much, writing a book. I've got like the title of it and everything. I've got like the first paragraph, which I think is just captivating, but it's just one paragraph.
Okay, great. When are you going to commit to it?
I don't know.
Listen, I'm not the friend to tell your big, crazy ideas unless you want to be held accountable. So
okay,
we've got this recorded. So when can we expect a rough outline of this book?
See, I don't even know how long the book should be. Like, I know nothing.
Great.
I know nothing.
I'll connect you with some people who can help you.
Perfect. Because like I've heard the title sometimes just sells a book, right?
Yeah, maybe. But it's probably true for some people, but.
So here's the title I was thinking of.
Okay.
Becoming the GOAT. The greatest of all time.
Yep.
And
not the animal, to be clear.
Yes. Greatest of all time. Becoming the GOAT.
I like it.
And then like the opening is just that thought of like becoming the GOAT. Do you think that like Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Wayne Gretzky, Tom Brady, do you think they had that thought that they're going to become the GOAT? It probably ran through their mind. So you have to like believe you're the GOAT before you'll ever actually be it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the premise that I'm thinking of the book is like, to become the GOAT, you have to first think it,
Yep.
And then you have to take the actions to get there. And then it would just kind of outline what I've learned through life and how I've become. I'm the self-proclaimed GOAT of infinite banking, everybody. All right. So
You heard it here.
So that's what the book will be about, is like me becoming the GOAT of infinite banking and just the lessons I've learned. So I've been thinking about it for so long, and I just need to do it.
Yeah.
Hold me accountable.
Yeah. Well, when I made the mistake that you're making right now, Devin, by saying this out loud, and especially recorded in front of the whole
Because now everyone's going to
audience.
be like, where's the book?
Well, I said this same thing on a call to this person who was inevitably would become my editor, my publisher. And she just paused and she goes, Lindsey, if you don't write that book, who's going to?
Somebody else.
Either somebody else. And I was prepared to give her a whole list of names of people that would be far more qualified. But it's one of those things. If you're getting that like, hey, that little nudge to do it, there's something in it for you. You just got to take your focus off of like whatever significance you're giving it. Like it has to be the best book ever. It has to be a bestseller. It has to this. I mean, you're just going to meet a whole different version of yourself in that process. And that's why you do it.
Yeah, I think that's part of the reason I haven't done it, because like I barely graduated high school. I graduated by cheating off tests. I had a D average. So I'm cheating off all the wrong tests, obviously.
Yeah.
And like,
right.
You know what I mean?
Who's sitting next to you?
I'm sitting next to all of the dumb kids. But like, what were the little bubble graphs that you had to fill in?
Yeah, like the Scantrons.
Scantrons, yes.
Yes.
So I would literally just randomize the Scantron. I'd be like, okay,
Like
I'm
making
done.
a Christmas tree.
Yeah, maybe sometimes like straight down the center. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know how I passed high school.
Yeah.
Right? Just not the sharpest like book smart person, but
Mm-hmm.
street smarts I was really had it, except for in math. Math I was super good at.
Yep.
So when I think about writing a book, like
Yeah.
I'm just not a good writer, but
Yeah.
Robert Kiyosaki says he's not a best writing author, he's a best selling author.
There
right?
you go.
So it doesn't have to be a good written book.
Yeah.
Now you got me thinking, because here's my thought process. Now that you said that, someone's going to listen to the podcast or watch it, and they're going to be like, that's a great title, Becoming the GOAT. That's a great little, and they're going to steal everything I just said.
There you go.
And
now that's your motivation.
And I'm going to see it. I'm going to see it on like my Audible, like teed up, Becoming the GOAT by so-and-so. And then I'm going to get it, and it's going to have the exact opening line I just said. I'm going to be like,
damn it. Yeah. Well, hopefully
All
this
right.
gives you some permission, which I love the fact that you didn't do well in high school, that's actually just going to make your story that much more compelling, because there's going to be some kid who's struggling in high school and his parents are making it seem like, oh, if you don't get straight A's, you're not going to be anything in life. Who's going to pick up your book and be like, well, wait, that's actually not true. There's evidence for why I can do this. I can create something for myself. For me, getting over like this fear of perfectionism was really what like the cute quit was about. And I just kept saying to myself, done is better than perfect. Done is better than perfect. I'm just going to finish this to see who I become on the other side. And the day the book released, you do this whole strategy. It's pretty easy. I'll teach you how to do it to hit like bestseller on Amazon. So we hit bestseller with a teeny tiny little audience, and my publisher calls, and I think she's calling to congratulate me, obviously. I pick up the phone and she goes, Lindsey, I'm sick to my stomach. And I was like, oh, do you have some weird Chinese food for lunch? What's going on? Like, that's a weird thing for you to say to me. And she said, there's a typo on the cover.
oh.
Now, this woman is a PhD in English. I was quite the spelling bee competitor in 3rd, 4th grade. So the fact that we missed it, it was that moment where I was like, all right, this is my test. Do I actually believe that done is better than perfect? Am I okay with people seeing me do this imperfectly? Or at that moment, because there were only about 200 books that had been sold, I could have pulled it all back. I could have not done what I've done today because I would have been too embarrassed to have people see me do something imperfectly. But instead, I was like, well, if done is really better than perfect, then I can't think of a better lesson to learn on launch day, that this was meant to be an imperfect book that now went on to inspire this global community of women. I get messages from people in Ghana, Africa, Malaysia, all over the world that have read the book, that listen to my podcast.
So cool.
I could have stopped at that point because my worst fear came true.
So cool.
So you can listen back to that part when you're in the writing process and you're like, damn it.
Like, I think you might be the female version of me.
Ah.
Like, I'm a perfectionist.
Yeah.
Like, through and through. Things have to be perfect, or I'm just like, I always think back to my younger self, because I think our most authentic self is our younger self until we start trying to change to be somebody else, right? And I think it's our most authentic self because we were just with God more recently. Like a baby was just with God, right? So the further we grow from that, like we start to become a little different. But as a kid, I wanted like my jeans to have a crease in them. Like I would iron them and like heavy starch.
Oh my gosh,
like,
that's adorable.
Oh my gosh. I was like this 10, 11-year-old kid. And I had to have like lines all the way down. Like everything had to be perfect.
Yeah.
Like I used to do like this hard part and like a little looped like comb over in the front. And it had to be perfect.
Styling.
I'm like spraying all kinds of hairspray in it, brushing my teeth. And like my brother, complete opposite.
Yeah.
He like throws on a hat. Like he's like, come on, we're going to be late for school.
Yeah.
I'm just like, no, it has to be perfect. Like that's just me, a perfectionist through and through.
Yeah.
And I would have probably done the same thing.
Yeah.
I would have saw that cover and been like, what did I do? Crap.
Yep.
But you just let it ride and it's changed your life. That's amazing.
And, you know, we eventually made the edit. Now, you know, there's just 200 copies out there that I just call the collector's edition.
You probably joke about it on stages. And
it is the best story to tell
Yeah.
from stage. And those copies will be worth tens of dollars someday.
Tens of dollars.
Tens of dollars.
How
Yeah.
how often do you talk on stage?
It kind of just depends. I love to speak. That's one of my favorite things to do. So maybe 10, 12 times a year, just depending. I have to turn a lot of them down just travel-wise, but yeah, but I love it.
Guys, think about what she just said. I know most everyone watching and listening probably thinks speaking on stage, that's terrifying.
Oh, it's my favorite.
Right? Once you do it, it is such a high. Such a high. I did it for the first time last May.
Really? Congrats.
It was, May of 2022. So I'm in the back of the room, about to go up on stage. I got a sport jacket on.
Yeah.
And luckily, because like the sweat rings
Yeah.
were
Oh,
like,
yeah, because just the pits get real sweaty.
Oh, I was like, hands were so clammy. I'm like shaking. And I was just going to be talking about how I use infinite banking with real estate. So like, I knew it like the back of my
I
hand.
was going to say, you probably
what
talk about it in your sleep.
Yeah, it's what I do. So I just like, once I got up there, it was easy because I'm like, yeah, this is what I do. Here's how I do it. Super simple. And then the next time I got on stage was the next month, and it was talking about my story. Like, very, very vulnerable point in my life where I was having thoughts of suicide, like just really vulnerable.
Yeah.
And I'm like, tears are coming down, and I see everyone just leaning forward, and they're just like, they start crying. And I had a line of people after the speech, like asking me questions, thanking me
Wow.
for like sharing. I got such a high from it. After I left there, I'm like, I got to get on more stages. I have to get on more stages. So guys, if you ever have an opportunity to speak in public, do it. It is such a high, and you can probably agree with this 100%. It's a high if your focus is on the people. If your focus is on helping the other people.
Yeah. It's a nightmare if you're a perfectionist and are focused on, did I say that
You.
right? Did I tell the right joke? Yeah.
Yep.
Totally.
It's, oh my gosh. Because that second time I went, it was with a guest I had a few pods ago, Caleb Williams. It was at his event, and I had read his book, and it was kind of reframing to that book. I was going to come up and I was going to show the book and like have a moment of silence to like, so everyone's like, what's he going to say? And I had it all planned out. I was like, this book, I read this book, and then I had it all planned out, and I totally like bombed it and like forgot what I was going to say. So then like I put the book down. I'm like breathing hard. I'm like, oh my God.
Is anyone else sweaty?
Is it hot in here? So then
Yeah.
I just took the focus off me, and I was like, you know what? I put the book down. I'm like, let's give it up for Caleb for putting on this event. And everyone starts clapping for Caleb. They're all looking at him in the back of the room. I'm like, all right.
Get a chance to take a breath. That's like such a great cheat code. If you're getting nervous, you're like, turn to the person next to you and just share something you've learned so far today. And then you collect your thoughts and like slow down your breathing.
That's what I did. I was like breathing. I'm like,
Yeah.
just calm down, focus on the people.
good.
It's not about you. And then that's when I got back into it and just nailed it. I felt like I used to play high school basketball.
Yeah.
And I'd get so nervous before a game. Like my
Yeah,
fingers and everything would be numb. And I'm like so nervous. Ball went up, game time. I was in the game.
Yeah.
Same kind of thing. I view that now because I still get that when I get on stage. Do you get that?
Yeah.
Like that nervous,
Yeah.
like butterflies?
Yeah, I wouldn't want it to go away.
I think it's not being nervous. I think it's excitement. So it's a reframing. I'm excited to get out there. And as soon as I get out there, it's game time. I freaking
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
I'm telling you,
I
you're
love
the
that.
female version of me.
I love it. Well, we didn't know.
We're both wearing
Spirit
black.
animals. Here
We're
you go.
We're both wearing black.
Does that make me a goat too?
Yes. I feel like I need to bleach my hair.
It would look good.
I actually had bleach tips not too long ago.
Of course. I mean, we're not too long ago. Or are we talking like?
We're like
Middle school.
a couple months ago.
Okay, great. Yeah,
I
that's not
had
where I was
them-
going with it.
I had them in high school, 17 years old.
Because that was when it was hot.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. All the cool kids.
Legit. Entire head just blonde as you. And then I'd get a fade and like it'd go from black to blonde.
Yes. Oh, that's a look.
Killing the game.
Yeah. Ladies loved it, I'm sure.
Oh, I was taking names. So yeah, 17 years old. I cut it all off. Hadn't had it like 4 months ago. My daughter wants to get her highlights done.
Oh, cute.
So I'm there. She's about to go back and I'm like, baby, think I should get mine done with you? And she's like, Daddy, you will look. What'd she say? It was like a word kids say. She'd be
Right.
like,
Something we wouldn't understand.
yeah, she was like, Daddy, you would slay. I'm like, okay.
That sounds dangerous, honey.
Yeah.
Explain.
I'm like, please, I don't want to kill anybody. So she's like, you should get it done. I'm like, all right. Wifey didn't know I was doing it.
Oh, funny.
So yeah, I get my tips bleached. And then I come back home. My wife's like, what the did you do to yourself?
Yeah.
I'm like, it'll grow out. She's like, oh my God. And we had like maternity pictures coming up. She's like,
Yeah.
she's like,
yeah.
I hate you. I hate you.
Right. Yeah.
I thought it looked fire.
Yeah. You know what? All that stuff's coming back now.
I'm
All
going to,
the fashion from my teenage years.
I'm bleaching my head. I might even
Right.
grow it out and have the same hairstyle.
Do not blame me. Okay, Devin's wife, I did not co-sign on this.
Danielle, she's lying. Before we recorded, Lindsey Schwartz,
No.
she said,
I'm a girl's girl through and through. I will always have her back.
you would love her. She is amazing. My wife is absolutely amazing. You touched on something with your husband that reminds, again, I think you are me as a female. I really think you are. Like, something that happened with me and my wife when I stepped away from corporate America. This was October of 2019. Again, horrible employee. I got to a point where I hated it. I hated life.
Yeah.
I was making great money, but I was just so miserable, right? Working for someone else. I knew I'd worked at that company for long enough to know like they were just turning little handles in the back and adjusting my comp plan so they could make more. And I'm working harder to make just as much. I'm getting
Yeah.
taxed like crazy because I'm in these tax brackets. I just hated it,
Yeah.
right? And I told her, I was like, I want to quit. I want to do my own thing, become a real estate investor. What do you think? And she's like, do it. I support you 100%. You don't have to make money, because she was making more than enough to like cover all of our bills. We had very low overhead. She's like, just do it. I believe in you. I think you can crush it.
It's amazing.
Just go do it. And me being able to do that without the pressure of like, I have to make money. I have to make money. I have to make money.
Yeah.
Because people can smell that, like desperation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if I was
Tough.
trying to sell you something and I was just desperate to sell it,
Yeah.
you'd be able to smell it like cheap cologne. Right?
Yeah.
But if I'm just cool,
What a
calm, and
gift.
collected,
That's cool.
you know? So I was
Yeah.
able to go out and just be me
Yeah.
and started doing really, really well.
Yeah.
And it's all because of my wife. So I give my
Yeah.
wife all the credit all the time.
Yeah.
Without her, I wouldn't be where I'm at.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
I love her.
And you probably wouldn't have the awesome hair you have now. You'd probably still have bleach blonde tips.
I actually would have a lot less hair and it'd be gray. Because when I was working at that company, I was getting stressed out. I started getting gray hair.
Yeah, yeah.
So I started getting grays in here up top. I literally haven't gotten any more grays. I have them the same amount. Can you see them?
No,
Right?
They're great under this lighting. It's really
Right?
doing you favors.
Yeah. So I have the team set up the lighting in such a way.
Yep. The magic of television, friends.
So once we get out of this lighting, you'll be like, oh my gosh.
wow,
Silver
yeah.
Fox Devin. Look at this guy.
Yes. So funny. Oh,
This has
man.
been so much fun.
Yeah, such a blast.
This
Thank
has
you.
been fun. I hope you guys are getting a ton of value. If anything, a ton of laughs.
We think we're funny. That's the key.
We are funny
Yes.
to us.
I am my number one supporter of laughing at my jokes, my own jokes.
Yes.
Yeah.
At any rate, you're amazing. We are funny.
Thank you so much.
We make everyone laugh, or at least we make ourselves laugh. How can everyone follow you?
Yeah. So, I mean, Instagram, probably a great place. I'm not that hard to find. I'm sure everything will be linked in the show notes. And we have an amazing community for female entrepreneurs. Everything's just under Powerhouse Women. So our podcast, our community event, and I'm biased. I'm very biased, but it is amazing.
And people can get your book on Amazon.
Yep. It's on
Right.
Amazon.
Amazon hardcover.
Actually, I wrote it as more of a workbook. So it's like larger format,
Oh.
paperback. And
It's
I love
easier to read.
I love to journal and I love to write. So it's kind of interactive. It's got questions you can answer.
Got
and
it.
Yeah.
And bigger letters, so it's easier to read.
Well, same size letters.
Okay.
It's not for 80-year-olds.
You never know.
Pictures. There's no pictures. But
Come on. You gotta
no,
get some,
I know.
the
I'm
next
not a
one's-
very good artist.
The next
so.
one's got to get pictures in there. And just like little doodly ones that you actually do
that
yourself.
have nothing to do with the words in the book. Yeah.
That'd be
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
You'll laugh at them.
Yeah, there
I'll
you go.
laugh
People
at
will be like, "What is this a troll? What does that have to do with imposter syndrome?" I don't know, but it's funny. Here's a troll.
Oh my gosh. All right, cool. So everyone go follow her on Instagram. Do you have a TikTok?
I have one technically, but
TikTok's weird.
not really doing anything with it right now. Not big on TikTok, so
TikTok's weird.
keep your expectations low.
So Instagram, go follow her. We will put the link in the description below. Your podcast. What is the podcast?
Podcast is Powerhouse Women. Pretty much everything's under that same name to make it easy to find.
Go check her out, her podcast. I'm sure she'll have amazing guests, some of them which I should have on the show. So we'll talk about that offline. But guys, hope you got so much value. Hope you got a few laughs in. We were laughing. We think we're funny. Maybe you think we are as well. If you are, and if you got value, share the show and put some comments below on your biggest takeaways. And I will make sure to get back to all those. It's actually me that gets back to them, not an assistant. So I love you guys. Until next time, peace.